C5HJ! And what is going on, my party people? Woo! It's Monday Night Ham Radio! And today I'm going to be talking about how Steve, temporary offline, has hacked his Zygu 600? Oh man, I got feedback there. Sorry. 6100. And I can't wait to do that. He was here for a second. He dropped. I don't know why. There he is. He's coming back. But in the meantime, I have a special thing coming on. Sunday night. Hold on, Steve. Almost there. Sunday night, we are going to do, I'm going to do a special celebration of 1 year on YouTube-ish. Don't check the dates. Yeah, but I'm celebrating on 1 year of YouTube, and we're going to have everyone on, and we're going to come by and see what's going on and just talk and have a good time and reflect on what I did in the year and what can I do to make it an awesome year. But without any other further ado, let's bring on everyone we got in the back room waiting for us. Jason, KC5HWB, and Steve. Steve, do your thing.
Welcome to Tank Radio. I'm Steve KM9G.
Yeah, woo! I kind of got the pointing at me from you, so there's your credit. I like it. I like it, man. So, man, I've been seeing a flurry of posts, a flurry of new Discord rooms being created, videos coming out left and right. What are you doing with this G90, and what got you
G90.
down this path? I'm sorry, I have a G90. The Waxon 6100.
Yes. So I was feeling a little overweight, and I decided I needed to bolt myself into the ham shack and not do anything else besides ham. So I bought a new radio, and I went on the Zygu 6100 diet, and I'm down 5 pounds in 3 days. And then that was a week and change ago. So I don't know how much I'm down. I got to weigh in tomorrow. We'll find out.
But so what have you been doing in the project? What gave you the idea of
it was all organic. So what I did was, I knew that this was supposed to be a Linux based radio, and it was supposed to be an SDR, and it was supposed to be portable and have a color display screen and waterfall and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all this other kind of stuff. And I was super jazzed and super excited. And when I got it, it was a radio. But it was missing the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. And apparently I'm hearing from Zygu that it has been enabled in the latest firmware update, but I haven't heard back yet where. So that's the current question that's out. It has not, that I can see. But I'm like, it's got to be in there. What happens if we do this or that or the other thing? So I started playing with it, and I found out that it's just a single board computer, kind of like a Raspberry Pi. I'm a big fan of Raspberry Pi. It's got a whole bunch of Raspberry Pi projects on both of my channels. And I figured, let me see if I can boot this thing up, and I booted it up, and let me see if I can figure out how to get the root password. And it's been an adventure, which has been the really cool part about it. It's to me, ham radio has always been all about, hacking things together and figuring out how things work and what are we going to do with this and how do we make that happen and all kinds of stuff. So like I've got a small project that I'm working on for a local festival that's going on, where I've got an FM radio transmitter, and I've got it set up as a repeater with a sound mixer. So you can drive around in the car and talk over GMRS back to another GMRS radio that's plugged into the sound mixer that's plugged into the FM transmitter. So the car behind you can hear you on their FM radio station on 89.3. So it's like the spirit of hacking, and like the antenna that it came with was a little piece of wire about this long, and that wasn't going to get me the radius that I needed. So I needed to make a bigger antenna, and that's the same way that this radio has been for me. It's been like, what can we do next? And now, you can plug a mouse and a keyboard directly into it. It's got an 800 by 480 4-inch screen. So why not run WSJTX, Joe Taylor modes, or JS8 call, or ham clock, or Hammer's logging app? Why not run that directly on the radio, and one less thing to carry? So like we've got kind of an evolutionary path that we want to go off on and see what's going to happen with it. And who knows? The sky's the limit.
Who was the first person to figure out if we plug in a USB cable and run these commands, that we can get a serial port interface coming off of it, like almost a dev port interface?
Right. So I don't know who was the first person in our large group. There's about, 30 or 40,000 of us that are all participating in this little experiment. But I kind of did it in a vacuum. I'm not going to take credit as being the first person to have ever done anything like this before. I don't
Mm-hmm,
consider
mm-hmm.
this revolutionary or even shocking. I mean, I just booted with a serial console hooked up, and there's like 90% of the magic right there is knowing that it's possible. The other 10% is figuring it out.
That's that's pretty cool.
But I think
But
I'm the first one with a video showing it.
yeah, you were. That's what I was kind of leading into. I believe I also saw Ham Radio Dude is doing a lot of videos and helping you
Yeah,
out. And Temporary Offline was he
that's
was
me.
also Smoking Ape. Is also providing some late assistance and helping y'all there, and that I just love y'all have the Discord going.
Mhm.
Um, what channel?
So we're on the Toads Discord. I'll be live streaming right after this at 7 p.m. Central,
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be a link in the bottom of my video if there isn't one in the chat coming up here soon. But the Toads Discord has a special. It has two rooms now. One for hacking SDRs. I was going to try and be really broad, but then the 6100 itself is all encompassing. So we've got one for hacking SDRs that's
Mm-hmm.
got like Hermes Light and Pi RxTX and Arduino stuff and things along those lines. And then there's a room just dedicated to the 6100 because it's been so much, signal going on in that room. So many people talking about things. We've got a lot of people in that room right now that are just super helpful. Let me see if I can get some names. We've got Bill W1WRA has been helping. Don N5SKT has been helping. He was the one that got me over the last little hurdle of the commands I needed to type in. Therian, I'm looking at a couple of other names that are out here. Ham Radio Nomad's been helping. FEP Labs Radio Jim has been helping. There's a German word that sounds a lot like "well Trump president," but it's spelled in German, so it could be either one. Anton PC4AD has been helping. Just a lot of people in that chat room have really been just even with just ideas, even if you don't even have a radio. And the root password was cracked by somebody that doesn't have a radio.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out getting Wi-Fi loaded was figured out by someone who doesn't have a radio. So it's all been a community effort at this point, and we're just hoping to keep the spirit alive, keep the dream moving, and make some more progress with this thing.
So after you kind of logged into it, you realized the bootloader itself was unlocked. So that gave you the ability to just kind of stick in SD cards and start
Yeah.
trying the different OSs. And since we already know, I think it was the specs on it said it was an ARM processor, so we knew we could probably run something ARM based, right?
Yeah, if not even just compile it. So the thing that makes this different, like your Android phone or your iPhones don't have a method of booting easily off of a keyboard mouse user interface with a screen terminal. I mean, you have to hold down a crazy combination of keys and hit the power button and turn the thing on, and when that comes up, you've got to already have some software loaded on it somehow, so you had to rootkit the thing before you
Mm-hmm.
it's all the way down the rabbit hole. This thing here, you interrupt the boot process and you stick an SD card in, and I'm working on now where you just stick an SD card in and turn it on.
That's pretty cool. I'm surprised they kind of left it wide open like that. Like, someone in one of your videos, you were talking about SSH is just kind of what was wide open, but by default, the Wi-Fi card wasn't enabled or something like that. Do I have that right? You're looking at me weird.
The Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear half the question. My internet conked
Oh,
out on me for a bit there.
I was asking, by default, when you buy the radio from factory, it has a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chips on them. Are those working on the factory provided image, or they're just secondary chips that are on there that you got control over?
Inside the radio, I did a video teardown on it last night. Inside the radio, you'll find a Realtek 808239, whatever. I'm not sure the exact model number off the top of my head. You'll find a dev board that you can just go buy from like Adafruit or AliExpress or something like that, that's been slapped onto a board inside the machine, and it has two really tiny antennas. And let me show you something here real quick.
Yeah,
Switch
yeah.
scenes over a bit, and I've got my radio here,
Oh,
and
look
you
at
can
you
see on the
producing for me.
yeah, it's too bright. Hang on. Oh, there is. Move the camera out a bit. Re-aim.
Oh,
It's
oh,
gonna be really hard to see the side of the radio.
yeah.
And if you remove the sticker, that's where the Wi-Fi antennas are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have access to like maybe 3D print another side panel for this with an ability to adapt an SMA connector or something, so you can put a decent Wi-Fi antenna on it. But otherwise, it's trapped inside this big metal box, and we know about antennas inside of big metal boxes because we're hams. And so there's ways to make the improvements. Hi, now I'm on two screens. There's ways to make some improvements there to get a better signal out. So I think the real problem, I think there's two problems with it. One is that the interface is trapped inside of a metal box, and two is the screen doesn't have the spot for you to type in. So like they didn't finish building the screen interface, and there's no place to go in and type in your Wi-Fi station identifier and your Wi-Fi password, and there's no place to go in and accept Bluetooth pairing. The machine does all the things
Mm-hmm.
Once you can get out of the way of the antenna, because on that side you have your HF antenna, so there's going to be a lot of noise in that area, and you also have your power supply connection, so there's going to be some noise there as well.
Interesting. So, but out of the box, the device itself doesn't say supports Bluetooth for pairing on your phone. That's a
Right.
feature that you enabled by putting Raspberry on there, or
No, it's a feature that I enabled by just logging in over Serial Console and running the commands that were already on the radio to do it.
that's fascinating. They put the chips on there. They just don't
You put the
utilize them.
chips on, they put the software embedded in, like all the drivers are there, but then the fancy radio display, this display right here, there's no, like, you can't go into system settings and then turn it over and push, Wi-Fi settings and then move over and hit the virtual keyboard and type in your access point ID or anything like that. And then there's no like pair Bluetooth, turn Bluetooth on or off. There's nothing along those lines, but there's a lot of future potential left in this radio. And that's where it gets to be really interesting, is that this is just a starting point. This is a single board computer, again, like a Raspberry Pi, that's got an HF radio attached to it with a battery pack that, when it works properly, can last up to like 6 hours. So 5 hours. So when you start doing when you start running like your Hammers logging app and it's going over Wi-Fi to your cell phone hotspot to get QRZ call sign lookups back, it's going to shrink the battery life down, but it's going to increase the usability. So it's, now I don't need to carry my laptop with me and my radio with me and my external battery pack with me. I can just go out and do a quick POTA activation with the radio and nothing else. Radio, antenna, done.
So, but you probably also want a Bluetooth keyboard though, so you could type with it.
Type faster, yeah.
The Bluetooth keyboard along with the Wi-Fi paired to your hotspot. Then, man, this is coming a device I want. It's almost all in one. You're going to get this all in one package, and you were saying you're targeting the FT8 software. The application escapes me yet.
We're just thinking. WSJTX is the name of the software. We're just thinking about what can be done with a device like this. And also, it's a great platform for like internal hardware hacking. I mean, the first thing that you would want to do is put an external Wi-Fi antenna on it and see if you can solve that problem. And then the second thing might be to add a touch screen or something with a little higher resolution and maybe a flip down keyboard or just anywhere. Any solution is possible.
Does it have it has a USB-C port, right?
It has two. One because it's a USB-C device, and the other one because it's a USB-C host.
Interesting. Is that the one that you were saying you're able to now plug in a keyboard to it and a mouse?
Yeah. So if let me show you this screen.
So people are asking what flavor of Linux it has on it as a base OS.
Yeah. So what it comes with from the factory is something called Buildroot, which is a tool that is used to build a really basic embedded Linux system and take it straight down to your application level. So there's a USB-C host port here where you plug your keyboard and mouse in, and there's a USB dev port here, which is your cat control and your built-in sound card.
Oh, that's awesome. I wonder if they intended it to be so hackable coming out of the factory, or they're like, oops, that just happened. And then it's going to be a constant cat and mouse game if they really did not intend it to be that way, of them trying to fix it. But on the other hand, it could be a huge selling point of like, if you do this, it's out, your warranty's gone, but Sure, go ahead. It'll be an
I
awesome selling point to me.
I have to imagine it was a complete accident. They worked on a spec sheet target, and I'm totally armchair quarterbacking.
Yeah, yeah.
They worked on a spec sheet target. It's got to have a 4-inch screen. It's got to have color display. It's got to have a waterfall. It's got to be HF through 6 meters. It's got to have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and go. And then, like, if I was looking at this again, I've got the benefit of seeing the product that they made and then thinking a little bit farther ahead. So I'm not, saying anything bad about them. But if I look at this now, the very next obvious thing that I want to do is load, Raspberry Pi OS on this, and then stick KM4ACK's Build a Pi on, or KM6LYW's DigiPi software on it, and just go right up to the next level of ham radio with this thing.
Oh man, that would be an awesome device if we get there. But you already got raspberry, and what other flavors? I saw you said you have ran 2 different
Yeah.
flavors of Linux.
2 different flavors. Yeah, so there's a flavor of Linux called Armbian, which is meant for like your Orange Pi dev boards, or the other Banana Pi, the other flavors that are out there. And I can get that to load up, and I haven't installed it on the eMMC chip that's built into the radio, so it would boot straight up, and I kind of don't want to do that. The way I've been playing with it now is I put the SD card in to the SD card slot on the outside of the radio and boot it off of that. And then when I want to go back to doing regular radio stuff, I unplug the SD card, reboot the device, and it turns back into the radio that it always was. So there's Armbian on there, there's Raspbian on there. They're both very early. I mean, I've had this radio for a week and 3 days now. They're both very early in on development.
But so you're able to boot off the SD card. Are you able to access the other primary hard drive? And you're able to pull off the software, the drivers. I saw that you were talking about yeah. Oh man, it wants me to upgrade to Pro.
It's because you got more. It's because you got more than 2 people.
Yeah. It's all right. I was asking, were you able to pull off the drivers and other pieces of software that you're going to be able to utilize now, since they already done the hard work for you? You just need to figure out what their API was, which I was talking to a couple of people in the Discord chat room about. And I was like, once you figure that out, you can put sniffers on there to figure out what the data is going back and forth. One of your videos mentioned that you decompiled their Qt GUI application, and that's a big step in its own right. I've never met with decompiling, something I kind of wanted to get into, but I've never done.
Well, you wind up with everything in human readable, but still, non-named variables. So your code normally has variables in it, like VFO frequency A, and you'll just get like a hex code, and that'll be 14074 for 20 meter FT8 is the contents of that variable. So you have to go back through, and then you have to rename all of those decompiled hex codes into like friendly variable names. So then you can start reading the code a little bit more efficiently. And then reading somebody else's code is always fun to begin with. So yeah, so if you can go onto Radiodity's website and download the firmware update, you will actually have a full copy of their upgrade software, and you will have a copy of a bootable Linux SD card image for the device. And what that does is when you plug that SD card in and boot the radio, it boots it up and it runs an init script that starts formatting the internal MMC flash chip in the radio, and then extracts their tarball, their rootfs.tar file, onto the radio, which then inside of that contains all of the software. So they're giving it away.
Well, a lot of those software update packages, if you decompile it, or not decompile it, I'm sorry, decompress it in the right manner, you can crack into the package payload and see what's in there. I've done that a couple of times, just peering into ISOs and other type of images themselves. Man, I wish I kind of had this radio so I can help out and play along too. It's been a fun saga to watch unfold, and I didn't even know where it began, and that's why I asked you to come on and just share the beginnings and how did y'all get the idea of, oh, let's plug this in, and then from there just run with it.
Yeah, so I got the radio in the mail 2 Fridays ago, and I did a live stream unboxing and turning it on for the first time, and it was funny. Somebody's like, "Why didn't you read the manual first?" Like, I cut the tape on the box on the stream. It doesn't unboxings don't work that way. But turned it on and started playing with it. And then Saturday I had some time in the afternoon to go through it. And I think by Saturday night I was already working on getting a login to it.
Mhm.
And we didn't have the benefit of having the firmware when I was working on it, having the firmware available to download and play with. I mean, I was just going in and I broke through the boot to stop it, and then started looking at the files. And there's a boot.scr file, and inside the boot.scr file is the boot parameters, and loading up the different kernel images, and then go.
Mhm.
And so I had to figure out how to, I mean, it's standard Linux stuff. I had to figure out how to get it into single user mode. Then I had to remount the file system into read write. Then I had to reset the root password. Then I had to cross my fingers and reboot the machine and pray that it came back up, and it came back up. And then I was able to log in. And then it turns out that once Radioddity released the latest version of the firmware to us over in the US,
Mhm.
it's in there. And then you can run John the Ripper. It's a package that goes through your Etsy password, Etsy shadow file, and reverse engineers passwords. And the password on this is like ridiculously insecure.
Yeah, I saw that. And I was that's like the match luggage password, if you know
Yeah.
the reference there. But
Go in and do a sudo PASSWD and reset the root password for the super user.
Yeah. So to be pedantic, I can log in as root with the default factory root password, and I can reset the password. But this machine is so stripped down, and I'm only saying this because people are wanting to know information, not because I'm arguing with you. There's no sudo. That's how basic this machine is. You just log in as root. There aren't
just log
any
in
other
as root.
users
Okay.
besides root.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that's well, that in and of itself is pretty insecure.
Yeah,
But
and it
I
doesn't have a
mean-
compiler chain on it. It doesn't have any real scripting besides Bash scripting.
Mhm.
It's really stripped down. It's got a 16 gig flash card in mine. I have seen other models that have different size flash cards, which is weird. And then
Yeah,
mine
that's
has
weird.
1 gig of RAM. And then I've seen 3 different version 1.1 softwares in the wild. Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course has AppV 1.1. I have AppVer 1.1.0, and then I did the firmware upgrade, and it's also AppVer 1.1.0. So it's like go from 1.1.0 to 1.1.0. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, sounds like
when managers control your versioning, you get all kinds of numbers.
Yeah.
I've been down that road too many times. You want to do what to our numbers? That don't make sense. And then everyone's confused like a month later. Cool, man. Well, we got a clock counting down, and because I'm using a free account. So, T.O., man, I am just going to give you the floor and go ahead and tell us what's going on in your world, and anything coming up on your channel. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so right now it's pretty much all things X6100, just because it's fun and exciting, and that's where my mind is right now. I'm trying to get, like I said, trying to get this thing to boot straight off of the SD card without having to type any funny commands in. People have been asking me how this thing radios, and I honestly don't know. I've done some WSJTX stuff with it. I've done some FT8 stuff with it, but I haven't really done a lot of voice QSOs, maybe 4 total in 2 weeks. So I'm going to do a live stream right after this where we're just going to make some QSOs and see what the signal reports are that come back, and hopefully we can get some people in the audience to get some good audio back from me through the airwaves. It's after dark here in Wisconsin. You can see the window over here. And then Tuesday, what are we doing Tuesday? Oh, I'm not doing anything Tuesday. Maybe another static video drop. Who knows? And then Thursday is going to be the FT8 off. I'm going to run through the FT8 off with this. I'll get the extra bonus points for QRP, and then I'll just keep on hacking away at it and keep on producing short videos of progress as we make it. It's all breaking news type stuff.
Awesome. Jason, what's coming up on Ham Radio 2.0?
Let's see. Well, this Friday is the happy hour. So that's going to be fun. It's our December happy hour. Thursday, I recorded, I've had a 6100 for about a week or so. I don't remember exactly when I got mine, but I recorded a short FT8 video at the hunting lease over the weekend. I was using it out there in the field. So that's going to pop up on my channel. It's very, very intro, very basic. There's not much to it, but I was using it to make QSOs on FT8 on both 5 and 10 watts. So it is working. Somebody in the chat was talking about, they didn't think that it was at ever enabled. Wi-Fi was never supposed to be enabled in the first place, but they've said it will be Wi-Fi and Bluetooth will be in a later firmware. And I've seen some people on YouTube say that it's enabled now with the latest firmware. I haven't put the latest firmware from Radiodity's website on it yet. It's not enabled in the one that I have.
I think there's a third version floating out there because the person from Zygu asked me, have you been able to enable the Wi-Fi from the radio interface? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's no menu for it. So, and that's what, and that's why I answered somebody in the chat. I was like, well, they're saying that it'll be enabled, but they said that about the GSOC too, and that thing fell flat on its face a long time ago. So, I have higher hopes for this radio than I do this GSOC. So, I think they took the GSOC and they're like, well, that didn't work. Let's try it this way, and now they've got something that's actually viable in the market. So,
well, they are innovating, and I think that's a really good thing. I mean, there's questions about quality control. There's questions about, spurious emissions and all that other standard typical ham radio stuff. But really, to me, the key here is that this is innovation. There's something brand new that has never been in ham radio before. I mean, you've seen that. What was it, Apache? The radio where it's got a Windows computer built into it.
That's the MB1 from Expert Electronics. It's actually sitting right there.
Yeah.
So but it's got a whole Windows, and you could supposedly put Linux on that too.
Yeah. Well, send it my way. I'll get Linux on it.
Right.
Well, all right. I think the Zoom session is about to drop. Thank you for both of us. Joining. I really appreciate it. This has been a fun thing to follow, and I can't wait to see more of it. To continue on the discussion, Jason's going to have you on Sunday night, and with Steve and a couple others. But this has been fun and enlightening, and I wish I was been able to contribute to the project. Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Oh, look at that. Just in time. Well, I got about another 4 minutes, but thank you all for joining me here on Tank Radio. Just a reminder, coming up this Sunday night is my 1-year special. Come by. We're going to hang out with a bunch of fellas and just talk radio and see what's going on. I also have Patreon. Go head over to my Patreon page with the link below and buy me a coffee. All your support helps me do all the awesome things and continue on being Tank Radio and coming out and meeting y'all. I think that's it. Sunday, I do have some great things to announce, and I can't wait to do that. So catch y'all later and hope to see y'all Sunday. 7-3, y'all. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You can support me on Patreon. There's a link in the description below. And to all my tankers out there, go forth and conquer.